Hi, welcome back to the Petersen Automotive Museum YouTube channel. I'm Jonee Eisen, Associate Curator here at the museum, and today we're going to do a little walkthrough of a great exhibit up on our history floor, Transatlantic Lines, American Cars by Italian Masters. So in this exhibit, we're focusing on an interesting period in manufacturing right after World War II. These are all American cars with bodies built and or designed by Italian coach builders. So right after World War II, American manufacturers were gearing back up to produce cars again. During the war, they were building different products for the war effort, and it kind of took them a while to transition back to automobile manufacturing. This meant that a lot of the cars right after World War II were designs that were designed before the war. So in an effort to modernize their designs, American manufacturers, large and small, looked to Europe to come up with more modern, more contemporary designs. Italy had always been known as a design center. It was the center of arts and craftsmanship. And so American companies hired these new Italian coach builders that popped up right after the war to come up with a series of concept cars and low production cars that were much more sophisticated and much more modern than what the American companies were producing. So right here at the beginning of the exhibit, we have two pretty awesome cars that I don't think have ever been on display together. These are both Corvettes, and they have kind of similar stories with unique backgrounds. This is the Corvette Italia by Scaglietti. This was the brainchild of Gary Laughlin, who was a Texas oilman and race car driver, who was sort of dismayed that his Ferrari kept breaking down. So he had the bright idea of using Corvette mechanicals and going to Italy and having a very Ferrari-esque body put on a Corvette. Great idea, right? You've got the grunt and the reliability of an American car and the style and beauty of an Italian car. So Gary Laughlin enlisted two of his friends, driver Jim Hall and the legendary Carroll Shelby. The three of them managed to buy 3 Corvette chassis from GM. They sort of snuck them out the back door, sent them to Italy to the coach builder Scaglietti. Scaglietti was known for their Ferrari bodies, most famously the 250 GT Tour de France, which this car resembles very closely. They had Scaglietti build 3 lightweight aluminum bodies. They looked just like Ferraris. This really irked Enzo Ferrari, who visited the Scaglietti workshop one day, saw these cars, and said, "What the heck are those?" When Scaglietti explained it, he said he was building 3 of these. Enzo Ferrari said, "Well, if you build a 4th, you're not building any more Ferraris." And that was pretty much the end of the Corvette Italia project. These cars went back to America. Carroll Shelby decided not to take delivery of his because he didn't want to annoy GM, but he did like the idea of a European car with an American engine, and some say that it was this that inspired the Shelby Cobra. These cars, really beautiful. Again, they look just like Ferraris. They sound just like a Corvette. Apparently it wasn't the best car to drive, but it's a really unique and spectacular piece. Now next to it we have the Kelly Corvette. This car came from a similar idea. Gordon Kelly was an industrial designer who worked under Brooks Stevens, and he had a singular dream, and that was to design his own car, his own GT car, with a very modern look. He wanted to hire an Italian coach builder to build the body because he knew that these were the best craftsmen in the world. And again, he liked the idea of kind of Italian style married with American muscle. And he spent years kind of refining this design. This car is from 1961, and it really looks like something that's 10, maybe 20 years ahead of its time. And he took his design ideas, a scale model. He flew to Europe, to Italy. He went around to each design house, kind of unannounced, just knocked on the door, walked in with this model, and said, "Can you build this car for me?" The one that said yes was Vignale. Vignale was one of the most respected design and coach building houses in Italy. They were like, "Well, if you pay for it, we'll build it." And they did. And it's a pretty spectacular car. It's built on a 61 Corvette. It is a really beautiful, unique design. It was the first Corvette with a hatchback. They wouldn't put a hatchback on a Corvette until 1982, so Kelly was way ahead of his time. He thought maybe he could convince GM to put it into limited production. They weren't interested. They didn't want a car to compete with the Corvette. And it became a one-off, and Gordon Kelly kept this car until his death in the early 2000s. So this sweet little car is the 1956 Nash Palm Beach. This is a car built by Pinin Farina on actually Rambler chassis and mechanicals. So from 1951 to 1954, Nash and Pinin Farina had a partnership. It started out by building the famous Nash Healey sports car. That was a very expensive, low production car. It had a very complicated production process where the drivetrains started out here in America. They were sent to England to Healey. Healey gave them some performance parts, also built a chassis for the car. Then the engine and chassis were sent to Italy, where Pinin Farina built the bodies for them, and then the whole thing was sent back to America. That made a very expensive car, and they only built a little bit more than 500 of them. So for a follow-up, they decided to use the very inexpensive Rambler drivetrain and chassis, and just send that directly to Pinin Farina in Italy. Donald Healey had moved on to other things. This car was only a concept car, and it's just really beautiful. It has this magnificent dark green paint on it, and that unique kind of wide mouth fish-like grille on it. They decided not to put this car into production. Again, it would have been pretty expensive. Nash was one of the smaller American manufacturers, and a car like this sort of didn't really fit their product line at the time. But it remains a really wonderful piece of mid-century design and a great example of this transatlantic collaborative process between Italian coach builders and American manufacturers. So our next car is a contrast to the Nash Palm Beach. This is the Cunningham C-3. Unlike the Nash, this car actually has the oomph to be a real sports car. This is a homologation car. Cunningham was a maker of race cars. Briggs Cunningham had dreamt of winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans and entered that race with a series of different cars from other manufacturers and of their own manufacture. But they needed to homologate the company as a builder of road cars, so they needed to build 25 road cars in 1952 and 1953. The result was this car. It's powered by a 230-ish horsepower Chrysler Hemi V8. It has beautiful coachwork by Vignale again. The design was by Giovanni Michelotti. And it's a very exclusive, magnificent GT from America with Italian looks, and is a really pretty spectacular car. So here we have two of the most spectacular cars, not just in this exhibit, but I think in the museum as a whole. Here we have the Plymouth Explorer, and to my left is the DeSoto Adventurer 2. Now both these cars are the product of a collaboration between Chrysler and the coach builder Ghia. This started because right after the war, Chrysler was really in the doldrums a bit when it came to design. Their cars were extremely conservative, you'd say almost dowdy. In the 30s, they built a car called the Airflow, which was very futuristic. It had a streamlined design that the public generally hated. So after that, Chrysler was very conservative. They didn't want to really take any chances. And as a result, they sort of fell behind a lot of the other manufacturers when it came to design. Also after the war, GM had started its Motorama traveling auto show, where they were showing off concept cars, and these really captured the American public's imagination, and Chrysler wanted something to compete with that. So Chrysler called these cars idea cars. They were taken around to auto shows really all over the world. Right here is the Plymouth Explorer. This is one of two cars built on Plymouth chassis in part of this collaboration, and it's really one of the most spectacular and eye-catching of all the idea cars, partly because of this magnificent emerald color that it's painted, but also it just has this really kind of great shape to it. This, again, was a Virgil Exner design. It is very space age inspired, very jet age, I guess you could say, too. It has these wonderful strakes down the side, these magnificent tail lights, and a front end that is completely unique. So this is probably one of the most dramatic and spectacular concept cars of the entire 20th century. This is the DeSoto Adventurer 2. DeSoto was one of Chrysler's mid-price brands, sort of alongside Plymouth. And they were known for being rather staid and stodgy. So this car was an incredible departure for DeSoto. And this car was designed by a man named Giovanni Savinucci. He worked at Ghia, and this was what he called his supersonic design language. This look was first presented on an Alfa Romeo race car, and then was used on a limited production series of Fiats called the 8Vs. It also turned up on a few other European chassis. There's a Jaguar with this design language. But this is the only American supersonic Savinucci car. So this has to be one of the most jet age designs of all time. It's got taillights that look like rocket boosters. It looks like it's going fast, standing still. It really kind of looks like it can take off and just fly right through the ceiling here. These design proportions and these really racy lines just suit it. There was a previous adventure, which apparently was Virgil Exner's favorite of all the Idea cars, a car that he took into his own personal fleet. This car was actually sold to private owners pretty much right after it went on the show car circuit. And originally, it was sort of a controversial design. Some people loved it, some people hated it. But over the decades, I think it's become maybe the most beloved of all the Chrysler Ghia Idea cars. So that's Transatlantic Lines. It's up here on the 3rd floor, the history floor here at the Petersen. It's really one of my favorite collection of cars we've ever had here at the museum. I'm Jonee Eisen. Thanks for watching. If you want to keep up to date on all our videos, please subscribe. And when you're in LA, come visit us here at the Petersen Automotive Museum.